Hello everybody. How do you do? How do you feel? Fourth day of Cisco Live. I guess you had a lot of learnings. My name is Steve, and my goal for today will be to teach you what I learned on my way playing with Webex Teams and also with Webex devices, but not from a developer perspective too much more from an IT admin. And how can you use the APIs to facilitate your work, your everyday work, okay? Then for this session, even though it's a 3,000 session, should be pretty advanced, I'm trying to get everybody onboarded, okay? Which means I will explain the concepts and you should be able to catch everything. Maybe it will take you a bit more of a time to practice, but feel free to jump into the Webex team space we have right now and later, and I'm always happy to answer your questions, okay? I love those APIs. I love coding. I'm part of the DevNet team. I run a worldwide team of dev advocates. Our job is to help and evangelize, explain how to use Cisco APIs for cloud, IoT, collaboration, and a bit of DevOps. I'm a big addict of APIs. I run this initiative for Cisco to make all our APIs more consistent across all our BU groups, which is a long-term effort with an internal guide that may become public at some point, okay? I'm based in France, and I'm the point of contact for Europe. Then whatever you're building, impressive, if you want to testify, to give visibility about a project that has API involved, or if you're looking for a partner to work with you, feel free to give me a chat in Webex Teams, and I'm always happy to respond. And our agenda for today is to cover both the admin part of Webex Teams and then to see what's possible and how to work with developers willing to leverage the APIs for those devices called xAPI, okay? And we'll try to spend as much time, like 20 minutes on the first part and 20 minutes on the second part. I hope to have a few minutes to get some questions, and we'll see if that happens. If that's not the case, feel free to jump in at the end of the session. Is that okay? Let's go. Ben. Oh yeah, and this is the team space. Everybody knows it. You go to your app and you join the team space very easily, giving the name of the session, okay? This is my magic scroll factor, which means that everybody during this session should be able to see at any time. If you have any issue, you raise your hand and I can always zoom bigger. Okay, sometimes it means it can help. Then, admin APIs. Okay, as admins of a Webex org, everything starts in Control Hub. I'm not going to speak about Control Hub today. There's a lot of sessions and breakout for that. I'm only interested in APIs here. Okay, then we will look at Control Hub only when it relates to APIs. And the first thing you need to know is that when you create an account on Control Hub, you can assign a role to your user. And that role, you have several of them. Okay, there's a default user, and then you've got some more advanced users, read-only administrators, and others. What's important to understand is that depending on the role you pick, and there's a lot of documentation explaining what roles can do, okay, then that's what you do from Control Hub. My purpose here is to explain you what you will be able to do with the API depending on the role you pick. Okay, that's what you need to understand, because depending on what you want to build, you want to understand which permissions are associated to each role. Okay? Then, if you don't have a Webex org yet, or if you don't want to mess up with it when developing and learning to develop, you can shoot an email to devsupport at webex.com. I need to update this slide, and then you will come back with a proposal to be added to a sandbox organization. And everybody is in this sandbox organization and can play as he wishes. Okay? From time to time, it gets reset. It's just for you to learn and practice, okay? Without and making damages to your organization. Okay? Then feel free to do it. What's a Webex Teams API? This one, it's not the full API, it's just what is of interest for admins. Then you want to create users, list your organization, list your licenses, list the available roles. And why would you do all that? It's generally because you want to create a new user or to update the licenses or the role of a user. That's the only reason. And you can do that generally from the control hub, but now if you need to do it for 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 of your users, you will be wanting to use the APIs for that work. And also to be more predictable. And we will also speak a bit about the /events API. There are others coming that I won't speak today about. It's policies. And it's already available in some kind of EFT. Then it helps you restrict access to some bots or integrations for your organization. And imagine you say, I don't want people in my organization to use integrations, or I want to filter out some of those. This is when you will use a /policies endpoint. Okay? Then that's something you can ask to your account manager, partner, representative to get access to, and maybe you'll get the EFT or you explain your use case, but that feature is already available internally at Cisco for you to know. Then don't make it a breaking point in your organization as an admin. If that's a key feature for your security people, just ask for it, please. And we'll see what we can do. /metrics, it's a very important one. It's been some time we've been trying to find the best way to give you access to metrics. And this is currently being worked on. We have several options to make that happen. You know, metrics is about getting a lot of data, and getting a lot of data is complex because you need filtering and streaming. And this is where REST is a bit of a limit, and we may need to switch to WebSocket at some point if you want to get real-time information, and webhooks may not be enough. Then that's the reason why we're still working on the metrics. What we would love for you here, because here I think I have the best participants and users of those admin APIs to give us use cases. Because this is what we want to surface to you, just the data in the right way for your use cases. Then feel free at any time to send an email to dev support or myself, and I will try to route it, but dev support at webex.com is always where you can send feedback for developers, and it gets escalated to product owners, API product owners. Okay, that's the best way to give a feedback about the feature you need. And now that we've said that, when you pick a role, as I said in the introduction, you will be associated scopes. And scopes is what the API will see. It will see only scopes. It won't see detail about your users. It doesn't care. It doesn't care about the role of your users. All the API cares about, the Webex Cloud, is the scope, the list of scopes associated to a token. Then, depending on this list of scopes, you will be, if you have, for example, here you have people read, you will be able to read your directory. Everything is prefixed with Spark. That won't change soon, because it means we would break your code, my friends. Okay? And we don't want that. If that ever happens, you will have a window of time, like lots of months, to be able to update your code. Okay? But that's just an advice. If you're building APIs, try to avoid putting the name of your product inside your scopes. Okay? That's a terrible idea. And then, let's see how it would work. And then some of you may be new with REST API. Then I will do a very short 2-minute intro of what it is, what's a REST API. Who's new to REST APIs here? Okay. We have a lot of sessions at DevNet. Those have been recorded. We've been running them for several years. And a lot of people are still learning APIs, and we have learning labs, and we are willing to teach you. Then, if you go to the /start now, developer.cisco.com/start now, and you go to introduction for coding, you will find a beautiful lab that will explain you in like 20 minutes how to go in details into what I'm going to explain now. Okay? And then it will take you to code. But for now, I'm going to give you the basics in 2 minutes. And first thing, an API is something you invoke from code. Generally, that's the purpose. And the code can be an application on the server, or it can be this mobile phone in my pocket. Every time I access some data, it invokes an API over the internet. Okay? To do that, there are several ways, styles of APIs. One of them is called REST. REST works over HTTP, which makes it pretty easy because everybody knows HTTP. Everybody has a browser and has been using HTML and websites for a long time. REST APIs work exactly the same than a web browser. You know how to use Chrome and Firefox. You know about REST APIs. You will send a GET, this is what your browser does, a put to create something, a post to create something, a put to modify it, and a delete to delete an entry. Then, to create a room, what would you do? Any idea? The post on /rooms, and you're done. Okay. The way you're building a REST call is by sending on the wire your method. You go to a server, then for example, this is GitHub, over SSL. Then you give a path. After that, you append the path, the resource you want to access. And then you can give some extra parameters, like how many users I want to retrieve. Max equal 100, if you want to retrieve 100 users from your organization. And then you will put some headers to say, I want JSON, and your server will answer with some JSON payload. Last thing, and there's a status code coming. Then 2 things you need to know, what's the status code and what's JSON. Then the list of verbs, get, push, put, delete, you're good with that. That's good enough. One day you will mess in other ones, but we're good for now. And for the next, for administration, for Webex APIs, that's good enough. REST status code, that's the most important part. Whenever you send a request, you will get an answer with a code. Those codes are the same all over the industry. You go to Facebook, you go to Google, you go to anybody, exactly the same codes. Then that's very easy to understand if something is going green or bad. When you receive something starting with a 2, like 200, it's good, you got your answer. If it starts with a 4, you have an error, and it's you being the mistake. You made the mistake. You have to change something on the way you are requesting the data. You need to change your code. You can resubmit your request. As long as you don't change something, it will never work. Then the fault is on you. Debug your code. 500, it's on the server. There's nothing you can do on your end. You have to wait, you have to escalate, you have to wait for someone to fix the bug. Okay? Then 2, 4, 5. And the last thing, when you retrieve some data, it's very intelligible. Every human can read it. This is JSON. This comes from JavaScript notation, but all languages in the industry can read JSON. And I will show you later how to generate some pieces of code so that it's very easy for you to start coding in any language. Then, what do you get in a JSON? You get a key and a value. Then here, it says you have an ID, an identifier, and the value is an integer. Strings, integers, dates, booleans. And that's all you have in JavaScript. And then you can encapsulate objects into one another. And you have arrays too. List is an array. it starts with square brackets, the one you can see here. Then that was my 2-minute introduction on JSON. Now everybody is capable of following along, and we can do funny stuff. Now then, what you would typically do when you go to the user's API is to get the details of a user to understand how is his status. Has he logged in? Are we waiting for him to respond to an invite? That's often something you're asked from. Then you will want to go to the API to get a quick answer instead of logging to Control Hub, going to the user. That will take you several minutes. Remembering the password? Shoot. I have no memory. That's too complicated, okay? You just create a bot, you put it in a space with only you, Spark has end-to-end security, and you ask, come on, give me, is that user already connected or not, and you can respond real time to help desk, at an help desk, for example. And then add something to resend the invitation. Resending the invitation is not available through the API, okay? Then, if you go to, the next thing you will want to do is creating a user. Then let me do that in 2 steps. And then here is my admin. I'm admin at chatbot.land. I'm very proud when I was the first one to buy this domain because I love bots. And this domain holds all the room kits we have here playing like this one. They are on chatbot.land. It's a DevNet organization. And that should be the password. See again, another password. I try not to put them down because I don't want them to be stolen. And now I'm the limit. Okay, as you know, in Control Hub, for now, we're looking at users. Right after, I will speak about devices in the second part of this talk. Okay, then let's go with users. Users, you get your list of users. And sorry, my network is pretty slow right now. Or did I just... Where are my users? I think I was a bit extreme when I did my prep. And this message when I started Webex, my Webex org was not good. Like, welcome first time user. And that's good. I didn't lose my devices, but I just lost my users. Let's see, that's Control Hub. Now, oh, they are coming. But honestly, when I have an interface, I don't really care about it. The only thing I care about is the API. This is the only source of trust for me, because that is a developer coding on top of the APIs. Then I wasn't too much worried here. My first habit is to go to the API now and to request to see the truth. Then if you go to the API, the first way of going to it is logging on developer.webex.com. You go to the documentation, you select API reference, you click on people, not users, your people, and you list people. And when you click that, you say run, and when you run it, it will answer in seconds, here are your users. Then my network is definitely slow, but that won't stop me from working with you. Then see here, I've got all my results. That's good. That's good to help you make your first steps with the API. But that's not good to help you code with the API. Then now let me show you how to code with the API. What you want to do is to do exactly the same call. It's a get on this address, but you want to do it from your code. Then most developers, they first go to Postman, and this is Postman. This is tool, it's a free one. And when you start from Postman, you can say, hey, when you create something, you enter URL, you can add some extra flags, headers, values, and you send and you get a response. Okay. Then I just did that before you arrived with the list people. And I click send, And here is my answer. Exactly the same one. I see my admin and all other users. Then now that I'm in Postman, what I can do, I have this magic button which is code. And I like that button. I think it was introduced 2 years ago. And you can, when you click that, you can choose a language. What do you code in again? What's your favorite language at the moment? You're just starting. I think you will start with a curl maybe. Curl sounds good. Or maybe Python, because you took your first class with Python. And there you go. You got the code. Then you copy that in your script, and you're good to go. Now it will do exactly the same, listing people, right? Then, if some of you are starting with coding, we have a zone right behind, which is called Start Now. You can jump in at any moment, and we have 3 mentors, like dev advocates like me, and we are teaching. We have private sessions for half an hour, taking you to your next steps with code. And it's the right moment. You can have someone dedicated for 30 minutes telling, hey, this should be the next steps for you. Please go there. Then this is what you get when someone signs in for the first time. If you create a user, oh, I didn't create a user. Let me show you. Very easy. I go to the posts. This is the API now. Now I'm doing a post. I'm posting with the header. Here I have a token. See? The token here in Postman, it's injected dynamically because I have put it in an environment. See here, I have hundreds of environments. Because I've got a lot of personalities. It's me as Steve, it's me as an admin officer, as a compliance, as testing. I just change that and it will change my token dynamically. It's like variables. That it's very handy. And then you've got a body. And the body are the data you want about your users. Then here I'm generating a random user and I give him a name. And now if I click this button, what happens? I am an admin. Oh, how did I get my token? I didn't show you that. Pretty easy. Here, you go to Webex and you say, hey, I want to copy the token. It's pretty slow, but a window will come and say, hey, watch out. You're copying a token, which means now if somebody steals that token, it will be able to do anything on your organization, my friend. You don't want that to happen. Then I will show you how to make that not happen right after. Okay? That's the last 5 minutes of this talk. Let's go there. But just before, when I click send, see, I got an answer, 200, okay. It worked. And I just created user number, it was random, 598. If I go to Control Hub right now, because all our tools are based on APIs, there's no magic sync, everything's happening in real time. When I will refresh the screen, I will see that my new user has just appeared with an invite pending, because we just sent an invitation, and the user has not logged again. Not logged for now. For now. Yet. Thank you. And this is it. Look at that. I've got my user. Woo! Do you like it? And now you can go crazy. You can create hundreds, thousands of users. You can follow their invitation status and all that from the API. Okay. In Control Hub, generally speaking, you won't see all possibilities coming. You can do a lot of stuff in Control Hub. What you will see in Control Hub is what you need as an admin to scale, to make things repeatable. Then, most of the time I'm asked for a demo or use cases. I want to update the licenses of my users. Then you will do a put on the user, you do a get first, you get a response, then you take the exact same payload, you add your license, and you put it, and you're done. Okay. You will have the slides of the presentation. I will drop them in the space you've joined right at the end of this show. Okay, you'll get the PDF, by the way. and the latest version. The latest version will reflect in a day on the system, but you'll get it right after in the Webex space. Then, for compliance reasons, you may need to access more data in your organization. But that's very sensitive. It means you will have a role in your organization, someone accredited, that will be able to read, for example, all messages from users. Generally, that rules come with policies, internal policies, like you are able to use that privilege only if there's a request coming and a certified request, and then you do that role for the duration of this inquiry you're asked to do. Then you will use the compliance officer role, right? Then, compliance officer appears in the list of roles. Full admins can't be compliance officers at the same time. You can't have several hats. It would make things just messy in your job, okay? It's not supposed to be the same person. If it is the same person, it's not an issue. If you have a small organization, you will just have 2 accounts, and you will connect with 2 accounts. And that's normal, because you will be behaving with 2 different responsibilities. Is that okay? Then, those are the scopes for the compliance officer. And it's very, very intrusive, okay, if you think of it. It can read all messages, sees all events happening, read all teams, all rooms. Do you want your code to be able to do all that? Generally, I have a lot of enterprise background, enterprise architecture background. I'm very scared about security. Whenever I don't want things to leak out. Then the first thing I do when I generally say, I want to generate a token with only 1 scope. Only the possibility to read a list of people, maybe. I can only now list the people in my directory for 1 app. How would you do that? Control Hub doesn't let you do that. That's where you will need to write some code. Remember when you go to Google, Facebook, or the social logins, you ask to log in, you go to their place, and sometimes you see a window popping up with, hey, that person, they want to access your email. Remember that use case? Okay. That's what we call a no-off grain flow in the industry. O-off, come authorization. It's a standard. Webex implements it, Cisco implements it. We implement all standards. Our API are always open by default. Okay? Then using this standard, you can do a no-off flow. You will create the off flow, which means you will create the app that you'll be able to pick some of the scopes you want. We have a template of the app and a learning lab at DevNet. Then you won't need to start from scratch. It's already there, ready for you to use. I have put it in the resources. That's the most important takeaway for you today. That's the 3,000 parts. You start easy. You go to developer.cisco.com. You play with the APIs. Then you load your code in Postman. You make your call. You generate code. And then after time, you will want to do more crazy stuff. And then you will want to make very, very restricted, fine-grained scopes. With that in mind, you will be among the best admin developers in the world, and you should be able to to get a lot of success at your company. And then when you search for compliance and you get data, sometimes you get JSON data as a result. JSON is good, but if you want to create a script on top of JSON, I notice some people take a lot of time to create a Python script. I just want you to give you a tip here. There's a beautiful tool named GQ. Okay, it's JSON query. It runs on the command line, and that's a script that will let me find the ID of the room I'm looking for, and I will give a title of the room, and it give me the ID by listing all my rooms. And it goes through the JSON, and that's no code here. It's just a piece of jQuery. Think about SED. a lot of those languages, okay, with queries and languages inside, and it's a query language for JSON accessible on the command line. Please use that. You will be able to filter, to modify a JSON without spending hours, but minutes. Okay? Did you know about that tool? No, that's the reason why I do this job. I'm just so happy now. You just learned about it. Events API, basically, that's coming by default. The retention of data will depend on the type of license you've got. That's a Pro Pack that gives you more retention of data. But basically what happens is that you will be able to retrieve all events that have happened. If you want to know which event can happen, it's very simple. It's just someone creates a message, someone deletes a message, every event's happening. Why would you do that? Certainly to take it, to put it in a backend, and to inquire about what had been happening, because you will be able to check what was the state which is different from the current state of your organization. And if you want to come back in the past, hey, that message was deleted. Okay, now you've got the info. Someone deleted a message at that point. When was it created? Oh, now you know when it was created. Great. Okay? Then to go further, when you're going to explore for your next steps, I would say start from Postman. You know now how it works. In Postman, what I showed you when I was there, in fact, on the left here, you see, I've got a lot of collections. Those are groups of prepared requests. And now if I open the admin collection, I will see I can go with people, I can go with roles, I can go with events. About events, I can see, hey, I want to see all events that came up last hour. All that collection, it's published on DevNet Code Exchange. Okay. It's a community-driven collection. Okay. I created the first version. Everybody is able to contribute to it, and I want to have contributors. Okay. Then it's far from being perfect. It's far from being exhaustive, but it will be very good because inside I've put the very few first cases you need. Then don't copy paste, load, import the collection into your Postman. How do you do that? You go to Postman, you click import, you go to that link, and I will show you later how to find all links. The best way to find all links, this is a link to the Learning Lab, to learn to do OAuth, and this is a link to Awesome Webex. Awesome Webex is a repo where we have curated resources with everything valuable for developers and admins with APIs. And there you will find the collection for administrators. It's listed, of course. Okay. But I've put the link for you too. And the last resource will be the Collab Cloud track to learn to go deeper with Webex APIs. Okay. Then that's for the first part of our session. Now let's go to the second part. And let's make it short, because we have 15 minutes left. So far so good? Oh, we lost. No, I'm connected. I haven't changed anything. I didn't touch. Do you want me to unplug and replug? Okay, I can do that. Crossing fingers. I can dance, I can sing. Okay, I can also, that's better with the presentation. Then, let's go with administrators. Our Webex collaboration team, based in Oslo, take care of the devices for Cisco. They've been working for years on their API. It's been available forever, for on-prem. It took them about 2 years to make something very solid for the cloud, and now it's available. And for every Webex cloud, Webex registered device, okay? If you have a collaboration device, you register it to the cloud. Now I want to explain you what you can do with those devices and how to start. Right after this session, here, in 2 hours, in 1 hour and a half now, at 3, I will go in details into the code, what you can build in kinds of applications. For now, I want to focus on what it means for an admin, that those capabilities are coming. Because your developers, they will be coming to you and asking for something. And that's what I want to show you. Then, how does that work? Why would we program collaboration devices? That's because we want to extend them. Then here, for example, I have a collaboration device. See, I've got the call and the share button, but I have other ones, ultrasound. I want to be able to modify the ultrasound so that if I've got multiple devices, I don't get any conflicts here. I'm an event area. Okay? Maybe I want to build a game. Okay? We did that yesterday, Antoine. We saw, but you want to play with that one now. Or maybe you want to build an IoT device, okay? It's something that when you press buttons, you will just have the lights coming up or down. Okay? That you want to build your own. Those are my own code. I'm a developer. I love to play with toys. That's a great toy. I got that toy a year ago, and I've been playing like crazy with it. Then, what do you want to do as an admin now? You want to automate your device from code, make things repeatable, like I said for users, get data, and you want to extend your devices, get some data and do some automation. How do you do that? Guess what? You need a token, you need credentials. And then you can play the game. If you don't have the credentials, you can play with the device, which is good. That's security. Now your developers will need to get access to those APIs. Then, what do developers do and what can you do as an admin? You can request data. Remember this GET request? GET, put, post. You will have some kind of the same. It's not a REST API, but you have the same capabilities. You can listen to events. I will show you one, for example, is how many people are available in the room right now. I will show that in 1 hour and a half, which kind of apps, because that thing can count the number of people in real time. And that's pretty relevant. If there's nobody in your rooms, maybe you should cancel the meeting. Or if the meeting hasn't started, maybe someone else could start and use that meeting room. And see those basic things you can build with the APIs? And you can also run code on the device itself. All those capabilities, they use permissions. Like I spoke about scopes earlier, they need permissions. Then you need a user and you need permissions. And let's see how it works. There's one thing for now. To access a device, you need to be on the local network. Then you can't currently, and request the API like I did for Webex Admin. I was going to the cloud. Okay? To go to a device, you need to be on the same local network. We are now working to bring it to the cloud. It's coming. Okay? But for now, you still need to go on the network. If you're interested to go to the cloud, follow our trends and go to the, I will show you the link right after, go to the support, to the developer community space. It's called xAPI Devs. And there you will have 400 crazy developers that are passionate about APIs, and this is where we put announcements about EFT coming for cloud endpoints and all those stuff. And second thing, you should join the Webex ambassador programs, because here you can be recognized, and that's the best way to enter an EFT, an early access program. Webex ambassadors. Take this path. Then, now, how would that work? You would go back to the same place, Control Hub. From Control Hub, you will click Places, Devices. This is for the activation of your device. Then now you go there, you've activated your devices, and we're showing up, hey, those are my personal devices. And then from the Control Hub, you'll have a button say, hey, I want to launch advanced settings. When you click that, and if you're on the local network, you will be redirected to a slash to the IP address of the device with a path appended of cloud login. And here goes a flow, real time, that takes the fact you're authenticated in the cloud to generate a temporary token to access your device as an admin. Then now you're admin on your device. That path, you can't take it for APIs because you need to go all the way and the token is temporary. And the first thing you will do is that you will create new users. And the first thing I do on my device, I create a local admin. I create also an integrator, and I also create a room control role. Because these are the 3 roles available, and they have different levels of permissions. And depending on what you want to do, you will use one of those roles. This is the way the API works for devices. And if you want to do everything, go with admin. If you want to break everything, go with admin. And you're good. I would suggest to use, most of the time I use integrator. And then, next thing, what's possible? What's available there? You go to the PDF, a ton of things. Everything you do when you press a button or you can do with the device, because this team is API first. And it's crazy because there's not a lot of people in the industry building collaboration devices that are API first, meaning it's a ton of possibility. And that's a key differentiator. If you're selling any of these devices or if you're investing, you get a potential that nobody else in the industry can offer and will offer soon, because that took like 15 years to build over time and to make it reliable and backward compatible. Don't breaking it. That means teams very experienced building it. Okay. Then, now someone will come to you and say, I want to use this people count feature. It sounds cool, okay? Now I can count how many people are there. Which role should you create? You would go to the PDF, the developer would say, hey, it's beyond the room analytics, it's called people count, and you say, hey, X status, it helps you retrieve, and it says, hey, you can be admin, integrator. Sorry, there was a mistake here, it's been fixed. If you go to the guide today, it's been fixed. And user. User role means understand touch 10. Okay, it's the most basic one. You can create a call, you can ask a few info, look at the directory, and that's it. You don't do crazy things with user role. And then, if you say, well, but what's my device? How does that work? What are the capabilities? Go to the appendix. Honestly, most of the message I respond to in the support space is, how can I run this command? Where is the documentation? Okay. Then here is the link. That will work for you. Get practiced. Get used to those links. What if you don't have a collaboration device? What if you don't want to break it? Okay, breaking it is hard. You will factory reset it. But if you want really to play with it, you will want a sandbox again. Then we took a bunch of them. We've put them in our data centers. And like other sandbox, like routers, like everything we have at Cisco, that team, the sandbox team, they're right over there. And Tom Davis is a manager on our team. And he's managing this team. They're awesome. And they have created this sandbox that you can reserve for up to a week. And if it's not enough, you reserve it again. And you get a VPN access. Only you will access the device. And when your reservation is over, it gets totally factory reset. And when you make a reservation, it takes 5 minutes. For that, we give it an IP address and all that, and we restart everything. We have it for C9.3 and C9.6. We always keep 2 versions, the latest version, because generally when you are Webex registered, you get pushed the latest version. Then we push the latest release version for on-prem, which is close to what you get because it's what documents it currently. Of course, yeah, if you go to the API and look at the details, and you will see some extra comments because you're already on the 9.7 when you're doing Webex, but at some point we will freeze it and it will come to the CE on-prem version. Then what can you do? You can pull data, just be local on the network, and most people will use this API as admins to do branding. You want to push dedicated messages like hello, welcome to the DevNet zone, okay? Or maybe an image, messages, images, depending on moments of the day. Okay, you want to push those. Maybe you want to push specific activities. Like those activities, those panels, you can push them and update them. It's a macro. That's what I will show in the next session. at 3 p.m. Then I've put some examples from the shell command and again the Postman collection I've showed you earlier. There's one for xAPI. Then now you say import Postman xAPI, and we created two. One API for admins with everything possible, one API with integrator role. And again, it's not complete. There's not everything in there. But you look like great contributors here. And I would love to see you coming and pushing new versions of this API. And then this is the import of the collection. A bit of the roadmap to finish this session. If you're new to what we call CE, Cisco Collaboration Endpoint software, what powers all devices, that's a bit of history and how we went. And in fact, I started with 9.2.1. I didn't know anything about devices before. Then that means it's pretty easy to start with because I found the documentation and I was able to write samples very quickly. Then macros and in-room controls, we have them since November 17. And we have been iterating and increasing the value. We have an OGS module. I will speak about it at 3 p.m. It's for developers. If you can't attend the session today, it's not an issue. It will be recorded. You'll get the slide on Cisco Live on Demand. And the code of the session is DevNet 271. Then June, we said it would be HTTPS by default for devices, which means your API gets HTTPS by default, okay, which is better. We did the Webex rebrand. That was a lot of work. December, now you've got C on the Webex boards. And if they are, that came during Christmas, which means you've got exactly the same API now on your boards. We will be working in the future to give you more Webex boards related APIs. Okay. And you can imagine a lot of stuff we can do with Webex boards because you've got touch and you want really this area to be interactive. Getting the keystrokes, creating your own apps there, and all that is coming. And last thing, the latest version, it gets you an interesting new feature. We now have HTTP client that lets you post requests. And again, I will speak later about this one, but it's a pretty important one, and it has some updates also coming. Then here is typically what a developer will do. And if you want to go in details about those APIs and learn, I think it's worth the investment. Again, it's 20 minutes labs we have. You will start with the first lab. You will learn how to start from SSH, HTTP, and then you will go to Node, and you will understand all that in like 20 minutes. And then we have a lab dedicated to branding, how to customize your branding. That's important. For branding, we have an EFT starting. Then if you're interested, reach out to me on Webex Teams and tell me about your use case. And we are going to give you the possibility to add HTML pages. Okay, instead of just putting an image when you're in half-wake mode, you will be having an HTML page, which gives you new capabilities. Okay, we're starting EFT. Feature is ready. We're starting EFT now. Then more resources. Again, we've got an awesome xAPI now. Remember awesome Webex, awesome xAPI, all valuable resources. Then from there, I would love you to go and join the developer space. There is a link over there to join. It will ask for your Webex email address and you'll get added to the support space where we are this community of xAPI passionate developers. Thank you very much for your time today. Don't forget to rate the session. This is how I can come here and speak again to you if you like this session. Add comments, because I just love it if I can improve the presentation. And gosh, that was a deep dive. 45 minutes from zero to everything I knew about orgs, Webex Teams, and Webex devices for IT pros. Thank you very much, everybody.